Hi, this is Doug from Carlson Software, and today I'm going to talk about using notes and adding notes from the field directly into the drawing labeled as a piece of text, all from field to finish. The point I'm going to use is point 102 as an example. As you can see, there's many in this data set, but I'm going to use this one just to describe how this works, and then I want you to remember that this can be used for all point data that you have. So we're going to take a look at this point 102, which is a concrete monument with a drill hole. And we're going to start by taking a look at the field code, the way it's set up. So the code table that I'm using has a CMDH, and I'm going to edit that. You can see that the code is CMDH, and it's described in the Office, or the Office software on the plan as CM/DH, and I'm going to leave it like that. What I want you to notice is this point right here, attribute format. I have that set to both. You basically have three choices. You can leave it as an attribute block, which is a point block that has attributes attached to that block, and they stay with the block. You can label it as a text attribute, which labels it as a piece of text, or mtext, which is associated with the point but not still part of the point. Or you can have it on both, which is my preference, because I would like to have a Carlson point brought in on a layer called point monuments, and then have the symbol drawn on an existing monuments layer, and then to have it labeled with text or mtext. That is controlled right here under this GIS note point attribute label settings. Now when I click on that, you're going to see another dialog box, and again, this dialog box is capable of doing all kinds of information, all kinds of things that you can do with your point. You can add GIS attributes, you can add just these note attributes, which is what we're going to do, and you can label all kinds of parts of that point number. Now we're going to, if you notice that the default setting under the notes is to have all. So it's set as all, which means anything that I type in the field as a note that is associated with that point will be added to this mtext that is then labeled on a layer called existing monuments-text. So all I have to do to have that set up is just simply have this as set as all. So as an example, point 102 is the concrete monument with a drill hole. And we have added in the field a note that says it is leaning northeast 1 foot. So when that gets coded, that gets processed right into the CRD file and is carried with it. So when we do that, if you notice, when it's brought in from the field in the CRD file, you will notice that note carry along with it, leaning northeast 1 foot. So when we process that, point number 102, it labels it, it draws in the symbol and labels it as a piece of mtext, concrete monument drill hole leaning northeast 1 foot. There's no limit to that. You can add note after note, and it will continue making a paragraph. Like I said, it is mtext, so you can edit that any way you want. So remember, that can be applied to any single point that you have in your code table, and you can use that any way that you see fit, just simply adding more points. So it's just a real simple, easy way to add more information for points as you're collecting it in the field, without going through much additional effort whatsoever. Another example that I'm going to talk about is a sewer manhole. So here we have a sewer manhole that was located, and it brings it in as a sewer manhole, draws the symbol, and labels the rim elevation. But what I would like to do, in this case it has several pipes coming in and out of that manhole, and I'm going to have to label an invert elevation on each one of those pipes. So I'm going to get Carlson to label this manhole with the description, the rim elevation, and all invert elevations, all calculated automatically by entering the depth in for the sewer manhole. So I'm going to take a look at our field code table again, and this time we're going to look at the sewer and drain structures category and a sewer manhole. And when I edit that, now this is set up very similarly, but I want the point so that to go on the point layer. Again, the separate attribute format is set to both, so I can segregate the point from the sewer labels itself. The symbol is going to go on the existing sewer layer, and the GIS note attributes is set up like this. Now this time you're going to see a whole lot more information in here. First off, the notes is not set to all, it is set to selected. I can then add a note, and we have another dialog box that gives me options on what I'm going to do with that note. A sequence would simply bring in that note in the sequence that it was typed into the data collector. A name would be as if you name the note. You can have categories or names of a note, and it would bring in associated with that name. Or you can put an equation. And the equation then could be something like this. Z, which is the elevation of the point, minus, and then user-defined attribute, which in what I used was a D1, which means down 1, so depth 1. Get this one that I have already set up. You will see I have Z minus D1, a text size. I added a prefix, I equals for invert, the layer that it's going to go on, the text style that's going to be used, and you can control how many decimal places you want displayed. Now I've set that up 6 times with 6 different, so Z D2 would be Z minus D2, Z minus D3, etc., all the way to Z minus D6, which is, so I have this set up for the possibility of having 6 pipes in or out of this structure. Again, this is set to create as mtext with a layer, existing sewer-text, and that is going to create an mtext keeping all of this information in here. Now, to code this then, when you in your notes section, now this is probably going to be done more in the office than it is in the field, because you're not going to stop and take the time to add these notes in the field, but you can. But you can just do this in a note or from some field sketches. Let's add this into the office, and you just code this D1 equals 5 for depth 1, depth 2 is 5.2, depth 3, D3 is 4.8, etc. You can just add, again, up to 6 of these. So when you process this, this is point 1434, I get the sewer manhole label, the rim elevation, and 3 inverts subtracted and labeled for me, without me having to grab a calculator and figuring it out and possibly making mistakes. Of course, then I have tools, drafting tools, which there are a lot of in Carlson. I have one that I can pull this out with a leader and label it where I want. So that is just 2 examples of ways to use notes. A very easy way to use notes, add more information to your field data, and have it automatically drafted and added to the plan. So hopefully this helps you find another way to shortcut the drafting time back in the office and get your plan out the door quicker and more profitably. Thanks for listening.